If you're a retired police officer and you want to carry under LEOSA, does your ID card have to actually say you're authorized to carry under LEOSA? My name is Anthony Bandiero. I'm an attorney and senior legal instructor for Liberty Law Enforcement Training, bringing you another roadside chat. For those who know me, you know that I love guns, right? There's one right there, right? A little B&T APC 9K. So I love guns. I love the fact that Congress has given us the authority to carry concealed in all 50 states, District of Columbia, and the territories of the United States. LEOSA is the Law Enforcement Officer Safety Act passed shortly after 9/11, and it was also updated since then. It's also known as HR 218. I usually just call it HR 218. LEOSA is also not a bad way of referring to it. So LEOSA is contained in 18 U.S.C. 926C, also 926B. B is for active duty. C is for retirees. So essentially what this says is that if you meet certain qualifications, you can carry concealed in all 50 states, irrespective, notwithstanding the fact that a state law may say you cannot carry. So, for example, you have an officer in the great state of Mississippi. He retires after, 10 or more years, which is what LEOSA requires. And he then goes to New York for vacation. Why would he do that? Or he goes for a family reunion, whatever it is, and he wants to carry concealed. He can absolutely do that. And even though the fact is he does not have a concealed carry license from the state of New York, he can also go on family vacation to DC and California and still carry concealed. Does that mean you can carry anywhere you want? No. The state is allowed to restrict you from carrying in government buildings, state parks, and private businesses can also keep you out of their business if they tell you that you're not allowed in there with their firearm. So, but there is this requirement that you have to have the proper ID. So this retired officer, he says, look, I retired from my previous agency after 22 years of honorable service. That's awesome. He did retire for medical reasons. That's fine. And the agency that he retired from will not give him an ID card that says that for LEOSA credentials. Now, he works for a new agency, but this new agency, his capacity is a non-sworn personnel. He does not have arrest powers, so he's not currently an active law enforcement officer, which would be, pretty easy to carry concealed, right? But so the problem is because his previous agency will not give him LEOSA creds, can he have the new agency just issue him a retired ID card? And the answer is no. And what LEOSA says is that basically it says, you have to have a photographic identification. A photo ID must be issued by the agency from which the officer retired or separated, indicating their status as a retired or former law enforcement officer, right? This ID must explicitly state that the individual was employed as a law enforcement officer. So so there's good news and some bad news here. So the bad news is that Congress cannot by law force these agencies to give all the retirees a photographic identification. That concept is known as commandeering, where Congress cannot commandeer state authority and tell basically states to do certain things that's within the power of the state. Now, you're like, but the federal government does that all the time. They make states do certain things. Oftentimes, either A, it's a federal issue, right? Like nuclear power plants, or B, they entice them with money, right? So if you want a highway in your state and you want to be funded by federal money, then the state has to have their DUI limits at 0.08 or below. So that's how the federal government gets their way, right? They basically bribe states. Well, relevant to our discussion here, unfortunately, Congress cannot mandate that a agency give these people their proper identification. As you know, in my podcasts about LEOSA, I have said this time and time again, that these issues must be resolved before you retire. If you have an agency out there that has anti-gun, anti-LEOSA, or has a, you know what, I'll give a LEOSA cred, a retirement ID to my friend that treated me with respect and voted for me when I became sheriff, but I'm not going to give it to somebody who ran against me as sheriff, you know, and still working for the police, the sheriff's department. All that stuff needs to be resolved before you leave. There should be a mutiny if you have administrators that, you know, that don't give people their just desserts, but they're just benefits when they retire after honorable service. I'm not saying that's going on here. I'm just telling you that I like those issues to be resolved before the person retires, because once they retire, they have no clout. They're back to being, you know, uninfluential in the agency. So that's the bad news. The good news is that you don't need an ID card that says that you have LEOSA creds. You know, if I showed you my retirement card from my police department, well, actually, this one does say, but if I showed you some people's retirement ID cards, it doesn't, oftentimes it says nothing about LEOSA. It says nothing about concealed carry. All it says is that this person named within is a retired law enforcement officer with Mayberry Police Department. And that's all you need. It just needs to show that you were a sworn law enforcement officer, right? So that is what we need here. So if this officer has something from some ID card from their agency that says that they're retired, boom, done. Now you just need the qualification. The qualification can be done by your current agency. It can be done by your prior agency. It can be done by somebody in your prior state. The point is, that's the easy part. The hard part is getting that ID. But again, it does not have to say anything about being qualified on LEOSA. And why should it? Because the agency does not qualify. The agency is not the one given LEOSA rights. It's Congress. So whether it has something on there or not. Now, my ID, my retirement IDs, does say that the person named herein is qualified to carry concealed under HR 218, but it's kind of useless because even though it says that, I still have to qual. I still can't be under the influence. I still have to abide by government building laws and so forth. So the point is, my agency is not giving me LEOSA, Congress is, and it's nice that they put that on there just to maybe help. If officers contact me and they're asking me what gives you authority to conceal, maybe, you know, that will trigger their brain that, oh, right, you know, there's this thing out there called LEOSA, but it's not required. I hope this has helped. You know, hopefully my officer here, you know, retired officer, hopefully he does have some kind of cred so he can carry concealed as long as he has that qualification. I think that'd be great. The fact that he medically retired, that's a totally different issue. People that retire medically do not lose the LEOSA rights unless that's part of the separation agreement. I hope you have found this information useful. If you like what I'm doing here, like, subscribe, share with your friends. Until next time, my friends,